how are you guys doing so far tonight? I know there's been some questions coming through and we appreciate that. And also appreciate you guys are available to talk to anybody who wants to talk about their situation. Like they could easily call our fast agent hotline and we could definitely get them some more information. So if you're looking right now and you're saying, man, I wonder how this applies to my situation, you can dial 780-909-6770, get in touch with one of our teammates here, and we can talk to you a little bit about what you would need, what you would want to know. So one of the things that I think that everybody wants to know is what makes buyers pay the most? That's the question that I have for you guys right now. What makes buyers pay the most? Let's go Bradley, Tony. Bradley and Tony, why don't you guys start us off?
One of the biggest things, especially that I'm seeing lately, is buyers really want to not have to worry about those major mechanical issues. If they're walking through your house and there's clear evidence of recently done shingles, the furnace is newer, water tank is newer, like things like that are big selling features to buyers in today's market.
It's so interesting how sensitive they are to the major mechanical because it's not easy for the people that are downsizing to get a good understanding of what buyers are going through because they're in such different areas. Like our primary client profile is families with kids. And when they're coming forth, normally they're stretching for the down payment. They got the down payment and the deposit. Maybe they sold something and the market hasn't been so awesome over the last 5 years, so they're barely making it together. And then they come into a house and it's evident it needs windows. Windows are the biggest one. Right? Like if you end up with let's say you walk through a house and 6 seals are cracked, now that family's looking up at the potential cost of that. And that's going to be a very difficult to kind of cover off there. I think that that's probably why they're looking at that major mechanical. Hey, Bradley?
Definitely.
Tony, what do you see?
I would say that people are looking for fully finished homes. So completely move-in ready, fully finished top to bottom, especially with the rise in construction costs these days. Buyers seem to really want to have a complete home that they don't need to do anything to in the next little while.
So with everybody kind of focused on doing these jobs, Kim, what do you think is maybe a job that doesn't cost that much to do that would make a big result given the buyers that you've shown properties to?
So showing experience plays a big factor. So just making sure your home is clean and organized. It doesn't cost a lot to do that, but it could cost you a little bit in the end if it's, people go in there and they can't see past that. So showing experience is pretty important.
Man, it's like they forget everything you say, they forget everything you do, but they never forget how you make them feel. Even when it's not the right option for those clients. Even when you're like, hey, listen, that other house was better. If this one feels good, that's a tough argument. Because the last part of the decision is always emotional, right? But on the way in, you got to feel good about it. You got to do all your homework. You got to have your checks and balances. Erida, what do you think? What do you think would be like a low cost or no cost thing that you could do to make buyers pay more?
I would say, if you have any documents that show warranties or information about improvements that have been done, just leaving them accessible to buyers. So, when people go through the home, maybe leaving them out on the table for people to access and see.
Man, that just doesn't get done as much as it does has in the past. Can we put that information out front and center? Because it could be that the buyers that are coming through just left another transaction because of a failed home inspection. And when they see the binder of house love on your kitchen table, I think that really says things. Or, you know what? If right now, it's the time to show off all the care that you put into your outside as well. So, if you're one of those folks that spends a lot of time in the yard, this is the prime time for people to get to be able to see that too. So let's dial back. We were talking a little bit earlier about the stuff that we see in real estate. So is there anything that when you guys are showing houses makes your toes curl? Is there anything that you're like, oh man, not another one?
Over the last year and a half, especially, it's been really interesting to see, the varying levels of comfort of buyers and sellers. I've been through a couple places where, it was a more vulnerable group that was selling the house, and they stayed for the entire showing. So kind of have a house full of people, everybody's worried about getting close, so you're navigating, we're in this room, so you go over there. And it's just been, something that has been especially difficult with, the COVID-19 situation.
Okay, so you go into a house, and what's that experience like? I don't think that many people know that. So normally when you're showing houses, no one is there. What is the difference of when people are there?
Like you were saying before, that when a house feels good, it's hard to argue with that. And it's really hard to feel good in a house where you feel like you're intruding. You want people to feel like they could live here, not like you're, holding up somebody's dinner. So it's definitely a big atmosphere changer, and something that a lot of buyers are pretty sensitive to.
It's also weird from a standpoint where you feel like if you bought the place, they'd still be there. You're like, I don't know you well enough for this.
Or worse, like, where would they go? They didn't have anywhere to go during the showing. What if we buy this place out from under them? It just doesn't feel good.
The other side of it, though, is that there are certain things that need to take place for somebody to place an offer. And if you're going into a house where the sellers are there, you don't feel like somebody evaluating a property to be your home. You feel like a guest in their home. Now, as a guest, do you feel comfortable looking in the storage spaces? Pop open the linen closet and poke your head in? No? Exactly. So I want you to know that the likelihood of selling your property if you attend showings is super low, because you would have to get somebody who is able to overcome those obstacles. And that's very difficult when you take a look at like building that show experience. Now, there's also when like a house feels gross. Kim, we were talking about this.
Yeah, so it goes kind of in hand with showing experience. With especially right now, everyone's kind of more sensitive to cleanliness. So just make sure everything, is as clean as is clean. It makes a big difference. And like I said, a lot of people are pretty sensitive to that right now. So the cleanliness is important.
Yeah, it's like a mental cue. Like you've been so focused on sanitizing, and anything dirty might be dangerous. And then you walk into a place and you're like, oh my God, did you just see that? It's weird, right?
Yeah.
And people can't really see past it. And the reason that they don't have to is because the competitor down the road that's offering a similar house, they like clean the kitchen with a toothbrush. Like there's some good competition out there right now. And it would be tough to overcome from that. Like Tony, I know that you had a showing where you were stepping over stuff.
Yeah, it's too bad. This house didn't have many pictures of the inside because when we went there, we found out why. It was pretty much wall-to-wall stuff. And you could tell that there was pride of ownership in terms of like the windows were replaced and, the mechanical was newer. But the clients we walked through were so fixated on everything that was in the house. And it's like, oh, why do they have this and that? They didn't even notice the windows. And I was like, hey guys, this could be the house for you. And they're like, no. And I was like, it could be. And they're like, we didn't see it. They were just so focused on all the stuff. And it was like, I'm not the biggest guy, I'm not the smallest guy, but it was hard walking through the hallways in that place.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that gets looked past with show experience is the fact that when you live in a house, you're really just moving from one spot to another spot to sit down. Whereas when you're showing houses, there's laneways. And when somebody has to like turn their shoulders sideways to get past the couch, inside they're like, it feels a little tight here. And so respecting the laneways is something that's key. And also nobody ever walks up to a full closet and they're like, wow, look how much stuff they got in there. Instead, they're like, man, this family is struggling with storage. If I own this house, I would also struggle with storage. I think that's a really key point. So if you guys were to make an announcement, let's say that we took a billboard. We're not a billboard company. We're kind of known for helping people rather than known for being like real estate rock stars. But when it comes down to it, if we decided to be a billboard people, we would probably do billboards backwards and just put up one way to help people. What do you want to tell all the people that are listing houses in Edmonton right now that might help them in the next few months here? What would be the one thing you'd want to put on a billboard? Anybody want to jump on this?
Put all your elbow grease into the preparation. Like really get behind getting your house listed. because that effort you put in is really going to make a big difference on game day.
Oh yeah, and picture day. Like those pictures, if they're with us, they're going to be seen tens of thousands of times. Like dial it up to 12 for picture day, dial it to like 9 for showings, and your house is going to have a sold sticker. You do all the work initially, and then you don't have to go through showings. Like I can't remember if we've done more than this, but I think the most showings we've ever put through a house is almost 70. Could you imagine a family with 4 kids leaving their house to go for dinner and accommodate 64 or some showings? Like when we broke 50, I sent her some flowers. And, like we brought all the people. There's something, we still have some work to do to solve here, but we know that we're driving traffic. So I really think that that's one of the roughest positions is when you're just a little over the market and the people keep showing up and you're like, where's my offer? That's a tough one. So that's what I would want to say is like, you know what? Make sure that you're solving, like list your house to solve the market for the highest price that it will bear. If you listen to the market like we do, if you get market research, if you do the details up front, and then you listen to things like you collect feedback, I don't think that everybody knows that we pursue feedback like they owe us money. We call people for feedback. Like Erida, you have had several promotions with HACK&Co. I'm sure you've made thousands of feedback calls.
Yes, I've made a lot.
But I want to go around the room here before we move on to Cam and Jules and say, can you tell me when you show 10 houses, how many feedback requests do you get? So you're out there with buyers that have the money to buy, and how many listing agents out of 10 are calling you back and saying, hey, we'd really like to know what you guys think after viewing our property?
I'd say about 2.
2 out of 10. Bradley?
Yeah, probably around that 2 mark. You do get a automatic notification sometimes, but I mean, that's easy to ignore. Like it's hard to pay attention to every little notification, and then there's not an actual reach out. It's difficult to give that feedback.
Yeah, you know what? When it comes down to that, like sometimes it's even about the same effort. Like they're sending you like a text that's like, did you like this house? And your response is no, right? But that's not the feedback questions that we ask. We ask, how did your showing go? We ask, is this in your top 3? What else can you tell us about other properties that were priced similarly? There's some details here that are getting us better responses. And I think it's guiding more of our clients through the market. Is there anything else that you would want everyone else to know? No? I would say put away your damn bath towels. Holy man, showing your house and there's damn bath towels. But I'm just playing. Thank you so much for joining us. We're talking a little bit about getting the most for your house. Getting the most for your home is really focusing on show experience, having some great information on pricing your house properly, bringing it to the market well, and making sure that it gets above the noise. There's some real key elements to make sure that this goes well.